The American political system as we know it may never be the same because of this crisis. And I don't think people realize how unprecedented, how monumental that this really is. When you're talking about the entire economy being halted, right? And that alone may not do us in, like, but it's the government mishandling it. When the economy halts and businesses face immense pressure and they end up having to lay people off and cut pay, when that happens, first of all, over half the country shouldn't already be living paycheck to paycheck. But then it's the responsibility of the government to ensure that those paychecks keep coming, that people have some source of income, that they keep a roof over their head, that they can pay the bills, that they're not kicked out on the streets, that businesses don't have to lay off workers and cut their pay and induce suffering across the nation. Because once that occurs, that is hard to get out of. That is a hole that you are digging for yourself. And the government, what have they done in this crisis? Their number one priority was protecting corporate interests. That was their priority. It was clear from the jump, the establishment, Democrats and the establishment Republicans. They can pay lip service all they want, but many in the political establishment, the only priority was protecting corporate interests, protecting the big banks, protecting financial institutions, and making sure that they get their little bailout. But what about bailing out working families? What about a moratorium on rent, utilities, and evictions and mortgages? What about that? What about making sure that there are consistent and hefty payments directly to people? Not just a one-time little shot, but a consistent, hefty payments to people throughout this crisis. What about assurance that they're not going to be kicked out of their homes? They're not going to be kicked out of their jobs? That the economy goes on pause, but workers stay protected? That the people who are living paycheck to paycheck, the half of the nation that is struggling to keep their heads above water, your paycheck keeps on coming? What about that? But no, our government didn't do that. And now you're going to be facing amazing crisis. It's going to blow your mind. It's going to blow your mind. People are debating about just how bad it's going to get, but I can assure you it's going to be worse than we have ever seen, at least in our lifetimes. And that's a fact. Lowball estimate is 12% unemployment. The highest I've seen is 30% unemployment. 12% is already worse than the Great Recession. That's a hole that is so hard to climb out of. But if it reaches anything above 15 to 20% unemployment, when you have millions of people jobless, when you have significant parts of the country jobless, think about what that does. Think about that level of pain sustained for months and months and years. Think about what that does. Think about what that does to people. Think about the psyche. Well, they're angry. They're scared. They're confused. They don't know what to think. They don't know what to do. They can't feed their families. They're kicked out on the streets. So they take to the streets and they do something with that pain. You think they're going to keep voting for you? The person who put them in that mess? No, they're going to blame you. They're going to blame you. They might act out rashly, violently. And moving forward, they're going to need a vision. The people who are going to be so scared and angry and confused and taken to the streets, hungry, scared, and confused, they're going to need a voice. They're going to need something to keep them moving forward. Hope. And forget the pipe dreams. Forget fake hope. Real hope. Give them something that they can cling on to. Give them a job. Give them a paycheck. Make sure that they stay inside their homes. And that's not going to come from Joe Biden. That's not going to come from Donald Trump. And those people are not going to be voting for the establishment, not no more. They're going to start voting either two ways. They're going to start putting their energy and efforts into either one of two things. One route is the darkness, the fringe, the extreme. Just something they can just get angry about. Just start turning on each other, get scared, get angry. That's one route. The second route is, I think, populism, but real populism, something like a Green New Deal, where millions of jobs are ensured, a massive infrastructure investment so that we can fix our crumbling infrastructure, our crumbling roads and bridges and wastewater treatment plants, etc., creating millions of jobs, putting people back to work, making sure that the social safety net is strengthened, making sure that we have universal health care in this country and that no one is paid a starvation wage in this country. And who represents that? Who represents the fighting for those issues? Progressives. Time after time again, progressives have been there fighting for working families. And that that has to be the way forward for this country, or else this crisis is going to become catastrophe. That has to be the way forward. So the onus is on progressives to meet the moment. The political system's not going to be the same after this. There's going to be so many people who are looking for something to channel their fears and their pain into. So give them something to latch on to. And to do that, progressives have to be organized. They have to be consolidated. They have to be ready to meet that task. And so while this crisis is going on, even during this pandemic and after, especially after, progressives have to put in the work. The whole movement that Bernie has helped create, they have to put in the work. And what do I mean by that? I mean, all of these interest groups, whether you're talking about the youth action groups like Sunrise Movement, Fight for Our Lives, etc., and whether it be like Justice Democrats, PCCC, MoveOn.org, Our Revolution, whatever, all of those interest groups have to keep putting in the work to put up candidates who are going to primary these people and run for office. Keep consolidating the base, making sure that you get the youth turning out to vote. Put in the work. Donate. Give to these interest groups. Volunteer, right? And then in 2024, you will have the infrastructure in place where the youth are ready to come out to turn out and vote, that the working class is ready to turn out and vote, that people of color are ready to turn out to vote, and you have a whole coalition behind you. And that you are ready to show people that there is a vision forward, that there is a way out of the darkness that we're going to be seeing. That's the job of progressives. And I don't know if it's going to come, but I know I'm going to fight for that. I know a lot of the people in the movement are going to fight for that. And I'm compelling y'all to fight for that. To get involved. This is the time to get involved. To save this country. Obviously you can't do much in terms of going outside. But you can definitely join organizations online. You can definitely donate. And once this pandemic passes, you can get out in the streets and have your voice heard. Right? Give people a way forward. Don't just let the country devolve into chaos, but give them something real to hatch onto. Give them real hope.
Chillin' with the boys, yeah, we making all this noise. Can't complain, riding in the fast lane. To the top, we don't stop up till past.